So this is a new one that I'm uploading that I am gonna take serious. Like I'm gonna take it so far as my new Spider-Man what if. So because I really love Deadpool. So this is what if Deku was Deadpool Part 1. Now I will be including Deadpool villains or Deadpool antagonists, and I will be including characters from the X-Men franchise. And this universe is changed a little bit. Quirks don't exist, mutations do. Pretty much in this universe, the X-Men, everything happened. Pretty much the Avengers, other heroes from the MC don't exist. Only the X-Men franchise exists. Now, basically, 1,000 years after X-Men Future Past. Sorry, guys. After X-Men Future Past, um, after that, 1,000 years after that, or a couple years after that, quirks, mutations started become stronger, and everybody in the world started being born mutations. Eventually, the whole entire world was consumed with mutations, and pretty much, gene changing, meaning that, quirk civilization was still the same, they, but they had to determine your mutation, not by bone in your toe, but if you like, it's easy if you have like some sort of mutation that made you look incredibly different from any other person on the world, or that you had some sort of ability. Now mutations normally affect teenagers or preschoolers. So about when you're age 10, not 5, that's when your quirk or per se mutation happens. Now, I'm just going to say quirk, but when I say quirk, I mean mutation in this what if. So, everybody in the world has a mutation, and pretty much everybody's quirk is exactly the same, guys, because they're mutations. And I'm pretty sure X-Men can have powers as cool as Bakugo. So, yeah. So, the X-Men still do exist, just their grandchildren, their children. Now, Logan still lives. He still exists in this new, mania of mutants being normal, and everybody that isn't a mutant being, objectified like mutants, but not being feared, just, being looked down upon. Now, since, everybody in the world is a mutant, I mean, the mutant outlaws or anything like that, that's a thing in the past, doesn't even exist anymore. People don't even talk about it anymore, because pretty much everybody in the world is a mutant. So, Wolverine is the last, uh, founding X-Men. Now, a couple of X-Men villains are going to be aged down, meaning that they're going to be about in their 60s if Deku finds and fights them. But they are gonna be, hard targets to fight. So I am going to be including Deadpool villains and Deadpool lore in this what if, including some Deku's lore. Now, Deku is actually born with a mutation, but a stupid mutation at that. But it is going to be enhanced later on in the story. Now, Deku's mutation is pretty much Deku just has a body disfigurement. Kind of like Nightcrawlers, but without, the tail, the part where you can crawl up walls, look in the dark time, look in the dark, and also, pretty much, teleport. Pretty much he just has the worst part of a power, a mutation, just looking ugly. Now, Deku pretty much has the complexion, doesn't have, like, Deku isn't bald or anything, but Deku just has the complexion of Deadpool. Deku isn't bald or, losing any flesh. He just, looks like a burnt piece of, a burnt, pretty much just looks like a burnt piece of bacon. So Deku has the same complexion as Deadpool, but he's not bald. And Deku still has yellow eyes like Deku. Like Deadpool. So Deku pretty much goes through life being, bullied, but not to a certain extent like he did originally. Now, since Deku has no really cool powers or abilities, he's just, ugly. Pretty much everybody treats Deku incredibly bad, and Deku started feeling insecure about himself. Deku did find it helpful to, pretty much use comedy and humor to take away from his life. And pretty much eventually all Deku knew was jokes, comedy, humor, and pretty much Deku started developing voices in his head. They were small, but they are gonna become more bigger in the story wise later on in the What If. Now Deku pretty much was very, very, resourceful and mostly talked down to people when they try to bully Deku. Now Deku did have a dormant mutation that, developed his superpower part of his mutation. Now we're gonna do that later. Now Deku um does, get in some fights then and there, but no one can really tell if Deku has any bruises or cuts because, well, he already looks like he looks like Freddy Krueger, so they can't really tell if Deku's hurt or even burned at that point. Now, Deku does have a liking to, weapons and sharp objects and guns and all the other stuff. Deku's father was a part of the X-Force. Now, the X-Force, mission thing does still exist. Now, Deku's father did teach Deku to use some BB guns for self-defense when Deku was about 13. Now, Deku was a natural at guns, katanas, knives, sword fighting, everything. Deku was a master genius at all of them. Deku's father was confused, saying that telling his mom that he probably had some sort of, master, weapon mastered quirk and weapon mastered mutation. Now, Inko said that he is impossible. The doctor said he only had the ugly part of his power, and pretty much just he didn't say that, but he said he just has the complexion part of his power. Now, Deku's father says, so I'm going to keep on training him, make him be more self-defense, because there's people out there that can really, really hurt our son. So Deku's father starts training Deku in more knife combat and fighting and more or less martial arts. Now, Deku knows about the three top tier martial arts: karate, ninjutsu, and I think it was judo. Yeah. So Deku pretty much goes through life being bullied, but not as much, and pretty much not really taking bullies seriously because he does, joke and roast them, pretty much throw smack about them. Now Deku pretty much has the exact same personality as Deadpool. Now Deku isn't really even Deku because Deku was, still the same kid, but when he turned 13, Deku's human part of his body or his mind took over, and Deku was more, humorous and more, jack joke cracking like Deadpool. Now Deku also did develop a tolerance to pain because people beat up Deku a lot. Now, one day when Deku was about, I think, a time skip, when Deku was about 15, Deku was pretty much, at this point, it was like 5 weeks before Deku's birthday. Deku was 15. Deku was walking away from school, walking down the tunnel that will eventually become the Sludge Villain Tunnel, and walking down the road. Eventually, Deku saw a black truck coming behind Deku and grabs him from the back and drags him into the car. Deku took out his pocket knife about to, slice some guys, but he gets stopped by, somebody touching Deku's head. Deku passes out. Deku wakes up. The man there is unnamed, and he just has a he just has a mutation that makes people, pass out if he touches their forehead, skin-to-skin contact. Now, Deku is tied up to tubes and chains and some sort of tube, a pull, but he can still breathe. Now, the people in there, Deku hears them through the glass tube he's in, saying that we have to experiment on him, trying to develop if his mutation is stronger than we think. So they start, pretty much experimenting on Deku for about 4 weeks. The last week they see improvements. Deku develops some sort of, superhuman agility and strength. Deku is able to break through the glass. They're confused. They are able to, to contain Deku, and Deku wasn't able to hurt anybody by this point. But Deku was incredibly strong, and he did break a few bones in somebody that he, got his hands on when he broke through the glass. And they were surprised when he broke through the glass because that was bulletproof glass. Now, Deku was about the same physical strength and practical, stamina as Deadpool. Now, Deku doesn't have regeneration yet, but we can do that right now. So pretty much the last week they try to enhance something else about Deku. Try to unlock his dormant mutation, a part of his the power part of his mutation, more stronger. They start pushing it, pushing it, pushing it, and eventually Deku's hair turns black, and Deku's pretty much body starts changing and shifting, and Deku eventually just passes out. They think Deku's died because his heartbeat stops, and they pretty much get him out too, about to incinerate him. They incinerate him and throw Deku into the trash because Deku was burnt. And Deku later that day wakes up. Deku gets up saying that his body is regenerating, and Deku's confused. Deku's saying that his body is regenerating, thinking that his body's gonna heal from, the ugly part of his mutation, but it stops right there where Deku's, fully healed and he just looks like him. Deku says, damn it, and pretty much walks off, walking into the woods, running. Now, later that week, Deku goes back home. His mom and dad are worried. They go up to Deku and say, what's going on? Now, pretty much Deku's father says, tell me we do this and I'll get my crew on it right away. Deku says, no, it's okay, Dad, and pretty much shows Deku what they did to him and jumps off the roof. They pretty much say, no, don't do it, and pretty much Deku lands, and people around him are going like, what the hell is this kid doing? And Deku starts moving, and his body starts cracking, and the bones that popped out of his body when he fell are popping back into Deku's body. They're confused and also very blasphemous because, well, Deku literally just regenerated from a freaking 10-story fall that almost should kill anybody. So Deku pretty much got up and told his dad and mom that they did something to me that made me stronger. Over the 10 months, Deku found out that he had increased agility, stamina, reflexes, and strength. Not to a point, freaking Superman strength, but, a superhuman strength. An average superhuman strength, kind of like Captain America's. Deku also developed a certain power. Deku's voices in his head that he heard sometimes were enhanced incredibly. There were more or less people in his head now. Deku also had more humor than he originally had, making him more, kind of like the mask. Deku also had Deku also had faster reflexes than a normal human, and Deku also um, did have the ability to stop aging. Now, Deku doesn't know this yet, but when Deku's about to turn 20, he'll know it. So pretty much, Deku sees this is happening, pretty much trains and trains, eventually getting to telling his dad that he wants, a weapon. Deku's dad eventually, considerates because Deku is 16. He's slightly a teenager. I mean, he's almost adult. So Deku's dad gives him the normal weapon arsenal of Deadpool. No, Deku just gets 2 knives, like shown in this picture. A pistol right there. A pistol right there. That gun, like that huge slash gun, and his 2 signature Deadpool katanas. Deku does get a couple more guns, but we'll get into that later. So Deku trains with his father, figuring out all these new abilities and power settings that he has. Deku realizes that he's incredibly stronger than he thinks, finding out that he can lift about the amount of a car, but that's pretty much kind of Deku's max strength, but not too much. So Deku signs in for the entrance exam, and since Deku's dad is in the X-Force, Deku is more or less in more of a richer school, but he still does encounter Bakugo, and Bakugo does know Deku. So no one really knows yet in his school that Deku has a power yet, because Deku did, go missing, and Deku's dad and mom thought he wanted to recuperate back home. So Deku did miss the last day of school before the 10 months training arc, so he never met the sludge villain. So Deku goes goes to the entrance exam after his 10 months of training and walks in there. Now Deku's just wearing a red jumpsuit, the same jumpsuit that he wore last time, but with just a red and black color scheme. So Deku walks in there, and everybody gets ready. Deku does bump into a girl, a pink-haired girl, and says, "Oh, sorry," and she says, "Sorry too," and walks off. Deku walks off as well, going to pretty much the eventually getting to the practical exam. Now, guys, I forgot to mention this, but Deku does wear Deadpool's mask. Deku did, design his own hero costume. So Deku does sometimes wear a mask around. Actually, all the time, Deku wears a mask around his face. Because Deku does feel very insecure about his face. But not to a point, he doesn't want to get some plastic surgery. Plus, now Deku did have the potential to get plastic surgery, but now he can't because, well, he can regenerate from it. So Deku, pretty much has this power. It walks in. Sorry guys, I'm messing up this whole entire thing. Now Deku walks in there and pretty much gets ready. So the girl that was there, Deku doesn't see her. Pretty much they get started. Deku passes by Ida, but Ida shortly, passes Deku. Deku starts taking out his knives and throwing them to robot. Now, Deku did get permission from his father because his father talked to Yue, so Deku was allowed to use his weapons. Now, Deku started using weapons, taking out katanas, slicing and dicing into robots. Now, they saw that Deku was using incredible strength to slice these katanas straight into the robot's thick outer shell. And Deku was straight up going for it head on, slicing right into the middle parts, not, the gears. Deku started grabbing robots left and right, throwing grenades in their gears, exploding them. And pretty much Deku's father did put Deku in for like a recommendation, but Deku denied. So Deku did ever fell. Deku's father did have a backup to get Deku back into UA. So Deku got a pretty good score. Eventually, he came across the 0 point robot, was about to run away, but he got stopped by pretty much a girl that was pointing to another girl that was under some rubble and saying to help her. Now, this girl, she's unnamed, and you guys can, I don't know, in comments say what that girl's name is. She says to help her and blah, blah, blah. And pretty much this girl isn't really a girl, he's per se a pro hero that wants to encourage Deku. So Deku just says, "Okay, woman," and walks over to the girl, pushes the rebel off of her, grabs her, and sprints off. The girl looks at Deku, kind of looking, Krugerish, and says, "That guy is kind of strong." And that's going to be a pro hero that's going to have a crush on Deku, and that's going to eventually, get with Deku. So the only two options for this pro hero is going to be Mount Lady or I think, what was her name? Minko, the bunny girl, the bunny pro hero. Now, it's either gonna be Mount Lady, Miss Midnight, or Miracle. Yeah, Miracle. Oh man, yeah, Miracle. So yeah, those are the three pro heroes that I'm gonna put the, position of that pro hero that likes Deku in. So Deku walks off, gets the girl to Recovery Girl, walks off, and gets more points. Eventually, Deku gets, told off that it's over, and Deku goes back home. Deku's dad says, "You did good, son," and pretty much a couple of days after that, Deku gets a note from Yue that he got in. Deku goes to Yue the next day, walks in class 1A, and Deku sees, pretty much the same girl that he saved, aka Ochaku. Ochaku looks at Deku and says, "So you're the guy," and hugs Deku. He says, "Thank you for saving me," and pretty much Deku says, "You're welcome." So Deku was originally never gonna save Ochaku. So yeah, and also since that pro hero was talking to Deku and Deku denied to help that pro hero or help the girl, that girl would have died. Ochaku would have died. So if it wasn't for the pro hero that told Deku to do it, Ochaku wouldn't be in the story. I'll tell you that. So Deku pretty much walks off after that, seeing that Aizawa walks in class a couple minutes after. Now Deku did make some small talk with a black-haired girl and the brunette girl, the Ochaku. So Deku gets to a certain point that, he's about to go walk up to a blonde-haired kid that he knows, but he gets stopped by Izawa, and Izawa says, we're doing quirk assessments and blah blah blah, and go outside. So they go outside and they get ready, and Deku's told to throw the ball first. Now Deku did get the highest score, but Bakugo did get, close second. I mean close on first, but did get the second. So Deku throws the ball about 10 feet. Not really far, but farther than Minetta's. So Deku does, get a pretty okay score. For the long jump, Deku gets pretty cool, a pretty good score. For the grip test strength, Deku gets a pretty good score for the race. Deku gets about fourth place because Deadpool's pretty fast. Now, for after that, they get handed their syllabus and they're told to go back home. Deku's walking back home, and he hears some sort of clumping behind him. Deku looks behind himself and sees that it's some tall, bulky ass man with some sort of freaking helmet on his head, some sort of freaking giant bullet over his head. Deku says, "Who are you?" And he says, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch," and pretty much just runs towards Deku. And this is a Juggernaut, guys. So pretty much, this version of Juggernaut is Juggernaut's great grandchild, his ancestor, and pretty much this Juggernaut. Actually, scratch that. He ain't his ancestor. I'm pretty sure the Juggernaut helmet gives the user immortality. So yeah, guys. So Deku dodges Juggernaut and says, my dad told me that you were original, villain from the X-Men." And now everybody knows about the X-Men. Everybody in America, Japan, Russia in this universe, they all know about the X-Men, because the X-Men was the first group of mutants to ever do good, and to ever clear the name of mutants. So Deku pretty much eventually got away from the thing, or the person thinking that he got away, walking down the hall, walking down, the alleyway that he sort of kind of loosed the guy, noticing that the guy's, gone. Deku tried to walk out the alleyway, but he gets hit by a huge force. The Juggernaut guy being kicked into a pretty much tree, being pretty much decapitated because his head hit the top of the tree when his body missed the tree. Deku was on the floor, and his body started moving, looking for Deku's head, pinning Deku's head back on. Deku looked up, and seeing that Juggernaut was going for a drop kick straight for Deku, seeing Deku flying about thousands of feet, all the way to Degio Beach. Now, Juggernaut lost Deku because Deku was completely obliterated. It was only Deku's head left. Everything else about Deku's body was completely splattered in blood, guts, and gore. And they were all splattered around the city. Deku started regenerating his body from his head, and eventually Deku spent about a whole entire night there regenerating his body. Now Deku was able to walk back home, and Deku only had, a 4-year-old body, so when he was generating. So Deku got back home, he took a couple of food, he had some food, pretty much he started regenerating, using all of his power and focus, and regenerating his body quicker and quicker and quicker, eventually getting to, his prime 16-year-old body. So Deku got ready, got his hero costume all, checked out, and pretty much started becoming, more excited for the next day of UA. So guys, pretty much I'm gonna be putting a lot more lore in part 2 and part 3 and part 4 and everything else. But yeah guys, this is gonna be one of my what ifs that are gonna be very similar to my Spider-Man what ifs. My Spider-Man what if and my Loki what if. So guys, this is what Deku was Deadpool. See you guys later. Bye. And I also gotta say one more thing. I will be dropping a couple of vlogs. I did drop one vlog, but it was kind of a stupid thing. But yeah, I will be uploading a new what if later on this week. Don't know what, but it will be a good what if. Might just do what if Deku was a mafia boss next week. But yeah, this is what Deku was Deadpool. I hope you guys liked it. And go in the comments if you decide what pro hero Deku was told by. So, basically, it's up to you guys in the comments which Deadpool outfit Deku's gonna wear. The live action one, the Marvel Now one, this one. Yeah, this one is the Marvel Now comic book suit, I think. So yeah. Well, guys, see you guys later. Bye. Deuces.